Good morning, this is Pre-Algebra, or Course 3 of the Saxon Math book, Lesson 6. Our objective is how do you convert units of measure? Or if you're in one unit of measure, how do you convert it to a different unit of measure? If you want a funny video about units of measure, YouTube 70 miles per hour and look for the blonde and the car. It's about a 5-minute video. Very funny if you actually know the answer. If not, please learn the answer. Alright, before we start going through some examples, we just need to do a little bit of remembering here in my green thought bubble here on the left. So first of all, let's remember if I take 12 and multiply it by 1, I still get 12. Notice it does not change my original number. Same thing with 32 or any number. If you multiply it by 1, you get back to the original number. So if you're multiplying by 1, it does not change its value. Very important thing to remember. If I multiply it by 1, it does not change its value. It's still the same number if you multiply it by 1. Now another important thing to remember, and we're using these two principles in today's lesson, is if you take any number and divide it by a number equivalent to that, so 13 divided by 13 is going to give you 1. 17 divided by 17 is 1. It doesn't matter what that is. If they're equivalent, x over x is going to equal to 1. So let's set out and try to solve some problems using these two principles. That if I multiply by 1, I still get the same number. If I take any number and divide by itself, I'll get 1. Using those two principles. Now I should also note to you that there is a table at the top of page 37. If you followed instructions at the beginning of this class, you should have already copied that equivalent measurements table into your quick review section of your notebook. We'll be referring to that just by word of mouth. I'll be assuming that you have that easily referenced here. So let's go ahead and go here to example 1. This is not actually example 1, this is very similar to example 1. Mr. Siri, me, my kitchen is 12 tiles wide. I just made that number up, I didn't actually count. It's 12 tiles wide. Each tile is 1 foot wide. How many inches wide is Mr. Siri's kitchen? So here's the basic principle. Here's the unit of measure I'm trying to convert, right? I have 12 tiles. Each tile is 1 foot. So essentially I have 12 feet. I have 12 feet. That's what I wrote right here. And notice any number divided by 1 is just that same number. So I just wrote 12 over 1. And what I want to convert this to is how many inches, right? Because it says how many inches is Mr. Siri's kitchen. So I'm trying to convert this unit of feet into inches. So I'm going to refer to my table there. Underneath the U.S. customary, the first one says 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. Now notice 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So I kind of have the same idea going on down here. 13 over 13 is equal to 1. So if you will, think about that this 12 inches over 1 foot is actually just a big gigantic 1. It looks different than a 1, but it is in fact 1, because 12 inches is the same thing as 1 foot. According to that table and just common knowledge, I think you should know that one. So I'm taking a number and I'm multiplying it by 1. So whatever I get over here to the right of this equal sign is going to be the same as this first number, right? Which is actually what I want. I want to convert it. I don't want to change it, all right? I want to go from one unit to a different unit, but I still want it to be the same length. So we'll just apply our principles here of multiplying straight across, or multiplying fractions, which is just multiply top, multiply bottom. So then our next step here is going to be 12 times 12, which is going to be 144, and then I'm going to have both units there, feet times feet times inches. My denominator is going to be 1 times 1 times feet. Now, we'll go back to this principle over here that anything divided by itself is just 1. So notice here I have that same thing on top and bottom. I have feet and feet. So this is actually just really a funky looking number 1. And 1 times any number, as we already talked about, is just that other number. So then my answer in simplified form is just going to be 144 inches. Now, if you can understand that principle that I just talked about, converting units of measure is going to be quite simple for you. It gets more complicated, but this is what it boils down to, is what we just went over. So if you need to, back this video up, watch it again. We're going to be doing pretty much the same principle in these next 3 examples, so if you're a little bit confused, go ahead and watch the next 3 and see what we can get. Alright, so this next one is like example 2 in your book. For our high school camp out, we got 6 gallons of orange juice for everyone to drink. How many quarts did we get? Okay, so again, I just started off with that 6 gallons. That's the unit they gave us. I just wrote that over 1 because I like to look at it as a fraction, because I know I'm going to be multiplying it by a fraction. So what I have to think about is, what do I want to get that into? Well, I want to get that into quarts. And what do I have it in now is gallons. So I'm going to look over at my equivalent measurements, down to the capacity section, the left box on there, and notice it says there that 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. So I'm just going to write that right here. 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. So those two numbers, 4 quarts and 1 gallon, are equal to each other. They're the same. So I can choose to either put 4 quarts on top and 1 gallon on the bottom, or I can choose to put 1 gallon on top and 4 quarts on the bottom. Now, we have to figure out which one we want. Now think about what we just did earlier. Whenever we multiplied across, we ended up with a feet measurement on top and a feet measurement on the bottom. So those would reduce, and we end up with an inch measurement on top, which is what we wanted. So as you're placing these, remember what you want. I want quarts. So you want to put the quarts measurement on top. And you want to put the one you're getting rid of, or the one you're converting out of, on the bottom. This will allow our gallons from here and our gallons from here to reduce, leaving us with just quarts, which is what we want our final answer to be. So same idea we did here. 6 times 4, 24, times gallons, times quarts. My denominator is 1 times 1, times gallons. Again, we see this gallons over gallons, so we know that just changes into a big, weird looking 1. And that just gives us with 24 quarts. 24 quarts of orange juice is how many quarts we got. Now, most people, once they go through this a whole bunch of times, will kind of skip this step right here. They'll think about this gallons and that gallons reduce, multiply 6 times 4, that gives me the 24, and I'm only left with quarts. And that's fine if you can do that, if you want to skip that step. But again, I'm showing it right now just so you can see what's going on and why we're able to take off these gallons. Alright, next one is like example 3. How many kilometers, or kilometers, is the 100-meter dash? how many kilometers is a 100-meter dash? So what do I want my final answer to be? Well, I want my final answer to be in kilometers. It says how many kilometers is. So I want my answer to be in kilometers. And right now I have 100 meters. So notice I wrote that 100 meters. Here's what I'm starting with as a fraction, just to make that a little bit simpler. 100 meters. And then I want my answer to have kilometers in it, so I know I'm going to want the kilometers on top. I'm going to want the meters on the bottom. So now I'm going to go to my table, again there on page 34, or for you in your quick reference page. And you're going to look over there at the metric on the top right. And you'll notice that 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So I'll just put those in there. Again, it's very important. 1 kilometer is the same thing as 1,000 meters. So those two things right there are equivalent. So this right here is actually just a 1. So now let's multiply. This is going to equal to 100 meters times kilometers over 1,000 times meters. Again, these meters right here is just a 1. So I just get 100 divided by 1,000. 100 divided by 1,000. If you do that out by hand, you'll get 0.1. And our only unit of measure left right here is the kilometers. So 0.1 kilometers, or 1/10 of a kilometer, is our answer. One more example. When I was born, I weighed 9 pounds and a half ounce. How many ounces is that? Well, let's notice that unit of measure is kind of in two parts. There's 9 pounds and a half ounce. This half ounce is already in the ounces that I want. So all I'm going to do is convert that 9 pounds and then add on the half ounce that I have there at the end. So I'm trying to convert pounds to ounces. That's going to be in the weight/mass section there, the third section down the bottom. And that's actually the first one in the top left box of the third section. That was really confusing. You can find it. Notice 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound. So again, I'm trying to get rid of pounds. So that means I'm going to write my pound measurement down here. And I want to change it into ounces, so I want my ounce measurement up here on the top. And I'm just going to fill in those numbers. It's going to be 16 ounces, 1 pound. Again, I'm going to emphasize this again. 16 ounces and 1 pound are the same thing, so this is just a 1. I'm taking a number, I'm multiplying it by 1. Whatever I get is going to be equivalent to what I started with, or the 9 pounds. So I am going to multiply 9 times 16 and get 144 times pounds times ounces over 1 pound. These pounds will reduce, it's just a 1. And so then I'm ending up with just 144 ounces. Now be careful, don't circle that as your answer too fast, because that's just what the 9 pounds is. 9 pounds changed into 144 ounces. So my actual answer that I'm wanting is 144.5 ounces. Because remember, 1/2 is the same as 0.5. So the answer would actually be 144.5 ounces.